we continue the evil acts that was done by the mushriks to the Prophet ﷺ. It's narrated in Bukhari on the authority of Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. He said once the Prophet ﷺ was offering prayers near the Kaaba. Abu Jahl was sitting with some of his companions. Some of these companions said to the others, "Who among you will bring the guts of a camel, a dead camel of Bani so and so, and put it on the back of Muhammad ﷺ when he makes sujood?" So the most evil and wretched among them, Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayt, got up and brought this intestines of the dead camel, and he waited until the Prophet ﷺ made sujood, and then he placed it on his back between his shoulders. So imagine a person putting his forehead to the ground, and this filthy thing is on your shoulders. Obviously, he ﷺ did not move. And Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu said, "I was watching, but I could not do anything because he was a weak person. He did not have a strong tribe to protect him. But he said, I wished I had some people with me to hold out against them." And so the Quraysh started laughing because of the evil deed that they did, and leaning on, laughing to the point they like falling on one another, and having so much fun because of that. The Prophet ﷺ remained on his sujood, and he did not lift up his head until his daughter Fatima radiallahu anha came and removed these things from his back alayhi salatu salam. Then he alayhi salatu salam raised his head and made dua 3 times against the Quraysh. He said, "Oh Allah, destroy the infidels of Quraysh." He said that 3 times. So of course when the Quraysh, before they were following each other with laughter, but then when they heard the Prophet ﷺ making dua, they were shocked for 2 reasons. Number 1, they knew that dua was accepted at the Kaaba. Number 2, they knew that the Prophet ﷺ was a true messenger. The only reason why they didn't believe in him is because of arrogance, which is a very well-known statement of Abu Jahl. He said that we were competing with the Bani Hashim, and they would take care of the pilgrims, we would take care of them, and then finally they tell us there's a prophet that comes from among them. How are we going to compete with this? So of course we're not going to believe in him. فَإِنَّهُمْ لَا يُكَذِّبُونَك. إِنَّهُمْ لَا يُكَذِّبُونَك. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet, they don't belie that you are a messenger. وَلَكِنَّ الظَّالِمِينَ بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ يَجْحَدُونَ. But because of their arrogance, they argue against the miracles Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he alayhi salam named them one by one. He said, "Oh Allah, destroy Abu Jahl, Utbah bin Rabi'ah, Shayba bin Rabi'ah, Al-Walid bin Utbah, Umayyah bin Khalaf, and Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayt." And he mentioned the 7th one. Ibn Mas'ud continues in the hadith, whose name I cannot recall. And he continues, he said, "By Allah in whose hand my life is, I saw the dead bodies of those 7 people that he alayhi made dua on in Badr, in the battle of Badr. He saw them in the Qalib. The Qalib is one of the wells of Badr. After the battle of Badr, the mushriks that were killed, they were thrown into a hole. That's Qalib Badr. And all these 7 that he ﷺ made dua on, all of them perished in the battle of Badr. The 7th person was Umara bin al-Walid. So these were the chiefs of Quraysh. They were evil. They boasted because of their power, because they had support and help, and they viewed the Prophet ﷺ as being weak, as the enemies of Allah view the Muslims being weak today. But they forget that our helper is the one who can never be defeated, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the power of dua is something that's very important. We should not neglect it. As we saw here, the Prophet ﷺ made dua against the chiefs of Quraysh. Allah destroyed them all in one single day. And this is why we said, the scholars said, Isa alayhi salam, towards the end of time, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to tell him that Gog and Magog, Yajuj and Majuj, are going to be let loose and no one can fight them and defeat them, Isa alayhi salam and the believers, they will go to Mount Sinai and take refuge there and make dua against Gog and Magog, against Yajuj and Majuj, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will destroy them. And the scholars said, from this we take that it is mandated that a person makes dua against an enemy whom he cannot defeat. So if you cannot defeat him due to physical power or other things that stop you, then you make dua against your enemies. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed these 7 in the battle of Badr. Umayyah bin Khalaf would slander the Prophet ﷺ and talk bad about him whenever he saw him. So he would talk bad to him in his face, not behind his back. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayah, وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. Woe to every slanderer and backbiter. Al-humaza is the one that tells you bad things in your face. You know, there's some people like this, they have no shame. They go, oh, why you don't do this? You don't know how to dress, you don't know how to talk, you don't know how... They tell you these bad things, they make you feel bad, they tell you this in your face. And lumaza is someone that backbites people. Like he says bad things about people behind their back. This is the difference between humaza and lumaza. Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayyid, who's Umayyah's brother, once attended an audience with Prophet ﷺ. Prophet ﷺ invited him. Actually, Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayyid invited the Prophet ﷺ. He was a disbeliever. He invited him for food. So the Prophet ﷺ said, I'm not going to eat until you become a Muslim. And for the Arabs, it was a big thing for you to invite a person and eat in your house. So Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayyid said, okay, I become a Muslim. So he said, I accept Islam. Prophet ﷺ ate and he was happy because, this is a person that's going to be saved from hellfire. But then Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayyid was a close friend of Ubay ibn Khalaf. And then when Ubay ibn Khalaf heard of this, he told his friend Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayyid, he told him, I will not be your friend anymore. I will not talk to you until you spit in the face of the Prophet ﷺ. So in order for him to keep the friendship with his friend, he did that. And he spat on the face of the Prophet ﷺ. And this is the reason of Allah revealing the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَيَوْمَ يَعَضُّ الظَّالِمُ عَلَى يَدَيْهِ يَقُولُ يَا لَيْتَنِي اتَّخَذْتُ مَعَ الرَّسُولِ سَبِيلًا يَا وَيْلَتَى لَيْتَنِي لَمْ أَتَّخِذْ فُلَانًا خَلِيلًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says on the day of judgment, a person will bite on his nails because of remorse. Bite on your nails when a person feels severe remorse. On the day of judgment, when he's in the hellfire, he's going to bite on his hands. Why? He says, I wish I followed the message with the Prophet ﷺ. I wish I did not take such and such person as a friend, because he has misguided me from the true path. And shaitan is ever a plotter against mankind. So Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayyid is in hell forever because of his friend. That's why we, as parents, have to know who the friends of our children are, especially in the Kafir land that we live in. Don't tell me that your son's best friend is a non-Muslim. He's going to misguide him sooner or later. If your son tells you I'm making da'wah to him, know that your son is making da'wah to this person and this person is making da'wah to your son. And usually your son or daughter, they are weak in this land. So the chances are they are the ones who are going to collapse and bend over to the way of the disbelievers. If they don't leave Islam altogether, at least they will change some of the things of Islam that will please their non-Muslim friends. So you have to be careful about that. We have to protect our children. And give them this story, بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. You have to give them advice and explain to them that this is a fact. That as the scholars said, as-sahibu sahib. The best friend is a puller. He pulls you to wherever he is. So whatever your best friend likes, you're going to be doing the same thing with him. Then Akhnas bin Shuraiq al-Thaqafi used to speak ill about the Prophet ﷺ in season and out of season. And the Quran was revealed against him, and this is the reason for Allah revealing the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تُطِعْ كُلَّ حَلَّافٍ مَهِينٍ هَمَّازٍ مَّشَّاءٍ بِنَمِيمٍ مَنَّاعٍ لِلْخَيْرِ مُعْتَدٍ أَثِيمٍ عُتُلٍّ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ زَنِيمٍ. So this verse was revealed because of Al-Akhnas bin Shuraiq, who used to speak ill about the Prophet ﷺ. Allah says, do not obey everyone who swears much. A person swears all the time. That's because he knows he's lying and he's trying to convince you that he's not lying. That's why he's swearing a lot. Okay? Do not obey everyone who swears much, and is also considered worthless. He is a slanderer. He is going about with calumnies, hinder of the good, transgressor, sinful, cruel. After all of that, he is born out of illegitimate means. He is son of fornication. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this about Al-Akhnas bin Shuraiq because he was one of the enemies of Islam. Okay. Sometimes Abu Jahl would come to listen to the Prophet ﷺ, to the Quran in secret. But then he would leave without believing in it. Because they knew it was the truth. But because of arrogance, because of worldly position, they don't want to accept that. Also, Abu Jahl wanted to stop the Prophet ﷺ from praying in the Kaaba. So their evil acts are going in intensity, day by day. So now all of a sudden they don't want him to pray in the Kaaba. when Abu Jahl basically insulted the Prophet ﷺ because praying the Kaaba, the Prophet ﷺ talked back to Abu Jahl severely and told him the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَوْلَى لَكَ أَوْلَى لَكَ فَأَوْلَى ثُمَّ أَوْلَى لَكَ فَأَوْلَى. Woe to you, O man, then again woe to you again. In other words, he's telling him what you are doing is going to send you to the hellfire. And then Abu Jahl never would take this admonition, but instead he swore that he would dust the messenger's face, like pick up dust and throw it on the messenger's face, and also when he ﷺ would be making prostration sujood, he would come and step on his neck. This is what Abu Jahl, may Allah curse him, wanted to do. But then when he tried to do that, he was going towards the Prophet ﷺ, and then all of a sudden he started moving back, scared. So his companions asked him, what's the matter? He said, when I was approaching the Prophet ﷺ, I saw a huge ditch with burning fire and some wings in this fire. So he got scared. So he ﷺ said, لَوْ دَنَا مِنِّي لَاخْتَطَفَتْهُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ عُضْوًا عُضْوًا. If he had proceeded further and gotten closer to me, the angels would have plucked off his limbs one after another. Take off the arms by themselves, the legs, if he did not stop and wanted to harm the Prophet ﷺ. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as he says, وَاللَّهُ يَعْصِمُكَ مِنَ النَّاسِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is protecting his Prophet from these evildoers. Next, the Prophet ﷺ chose the house of Al-Arqam and Abi Al-Arqam as a place for him to meet secretly with his followers, because torture became so grave by the Meccans, and he ﷺ needed to devise a plan as to how to protect the companions, and therefore the first migration to Abyssinia, which is today's Ethiopia, came. So the series of persecutions, as we said, started in the 4th year of prophethood. These things were slow, then after that they became intense. It was depressing, the situation for the Muslims, and they were desperate because of the harm that they received at the hands of the Quraysh. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala authorized them to emigrate to Abyssinia, because emigration is not what we call today immigration. Emigration is to move from the land of disbelief to the land of Islam. If you do the opposite, that's not emigration, that's not hijrah, it's the opposite of hijrah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لِلَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا فِي هَذِهِ الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةٌ وَأَرْضُ اللَّهِ وَاسِعَةٌ إِنَّمَا يُوَفَّى الصَّابِرُونَ أَجْرَهُمْ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Good is for those who do good in this world, and Allah's earth is spacious for people to make migration thereby. Only those who are patient shall receive their rewards in full without reckoning. The Prophet ﷺ knew that Asmaha was the ruler of Abyssinia, of Ethiopia, and his nickname is the Najashi. As we said, the Najashi is not his name, it's a title. So the kings of Yemen, they are called Tubba, the kings of Persia called Kisra, the kings of the Romans are called Qaisar. These are titles, they are not names. So Najashi is not his name. Najashi is a title. His name is actually Asmah. Okay, and he ﷺ knew that this ruler of Abyssinia was a fair ruler, and that he did not like injustice to be done to the people that live under his protection. So in Rajab of the 5th year of prophethood, a group of 12 men and 4 women left for Ethiopia. This is the first hijrah. It's 12 men and 4 women. Among the emigrants were Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anh and his wife, the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ, Ruqayya. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said about Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anh, about Ruqayya. He said, إِنَّهُمَا أَوَّلُ بَيْتٍ هَاجَرَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ بَعْدَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَلُوطٍ عَلَيْهِمَ السَّلَامِ. Uthman radiallahu anh and his wife, Ruqayya, they are the first people to emigrate in the sake of Allah after Ibrahim and Lut. وَقَالَ إِنِّي مُهَاجِرٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي. This is the statement of Ibrahim alayhi salam after the famous incident of the fire, and also his argument with Namrud, the ruler of the earth at the time, who was the king of Iraq, the one that's mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah. I said, أَنَا أُحْيِي وَأُمِيتُ. So after that he emigrated for the sake of Allah. He left his people, وَاعْتَزَلَهُمْ وَمَا يَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, because they were statue worshippers. So even though they were his family members, he left them. He left them for the sake of Allah, and that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replaced him, instead of his family, a whole ummah. Because from him, as we said, came the Romans, came the Jews and came the Muslims. Okay, because he had Ishaq alayhi salam, and the Romans come from one of the children of Ishaq alayhi salam. The Romans, the Rome, the white ones that we say, the Europeans. This is where they come from. So the Romans and the Jews, they are cousins. They have the same grandfather, because Ishaq alayhi salam is the father of Yaqub alayhi salam, and also the father of the Romans is also the son of Ishaq alayhi salam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him a whole nation. Ibrahim kana ummah. So he left his family for the sake of Allah. Allah gave him a whole nation for himself. So after him, the first household to emigrate for the sake of Allah was Uthman radiallahu anhu, and the daughter of the Prophet sallam, Ruqayyah. So of course they went under the cover of night, so that the Quraysh do not persecute them, and they went to Jeddah, where they found an actual ship that was sailing to Abyssinia, and they rode in that ship and left. Quraysh, when they learned the news, they followed them, but when they got to the port, they found that the boat had already left. And then after that, something happened in the Kaaba, where the Prophet ﷺ started reciting Surah Al-Najm, وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى. And then after that and Quraysh, they were listening to him, because the Quran, subhanAllah, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why you see even some Westerners, they read the Quran, they want to see the hatred that's in the Quran. But when they read the Quran, they become Muslims, because they recognize it's not from mankind. It's the beauty of the Quran. The truth is truth. If someone attacks you, you can't say that, so you can have a good religion, you're going to turn the other cheek, because this is theoretical, but in reality, do the Christians turn the other cheek? They're the ones going around slapping everybody around the world, right? So, they may claim that, religion is religion of peace. If someone slaps you, you turn the other cheek. This is just a statement, but in action, it's not correct. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَجَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةٍ سَيِّئَةٌ مِثْلُهَا فَمَنْ عَفَا وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if someone does you a bad deed, it's your right to retaliate. But if you forgive, then that's better for you. This is normal human nature that Allah created us in, and it's so basically Quran and Islam is more in tune with the human nature that Allah created us in. So that's why many people, when they hear it, they can't help but become Muslims. And on a side note, Will Smith, actually, Will Smith, the famous actor, he actually said that he read the Quran from side to side, and he's spiritually looking for the truth. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide him to the truth, because these people, when they reach the pinnacle of dunya, they have all the money, all the women, all the fame they have, they feel an emptiness in their hearts, because Allah created them to worship Him. As long as they don't worship Allah, they'll never fill that void in their hearts, irrespective of how much dunya they get. So that's why you see most people usually, when they attain certain levels of dunya, either they commit suicide because they feel that everything they worked for is meaningless, or if Allah finds goodness in them, they will look for the truth, and Allah will guide them to the truth. So the Prophet ﷺ recited Surah Al-Najm, and then when he got to the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاسْجُدُوا لِلَّهِ وَاعْبُدُوا. So fall down, prostrate to Allah and worship Him alone. The idolaters, unconsciously and with full compliance, made sujood. So the Quran spoke directly to their souls, and they obeyed that, and they made sujood. Now, when they made sujood, all of them except one person, he was so arrogant, he said, he took a piece of dirt from the ground, and he put it on his forehead, and he said, this is enough for me. I'm not going to make sujood, but this is enough for me. It's as if my forehead touched the ground. And then the other polytheists, when they heard the news, they came scared. They're like, what are you guys doing? You became Muslims? Then they start saying, no, actually what happened is that, so the ones that made sujood, they're still arrogant, so to cover the fact that the Quran forced them to make sujood, they said it's because Muhammad ﷺ was speaking highly of our gods, of our idols. That's why we made sujood. So they lied about it. However, false news, rumors spread all the way to Abyssinia that Quraysh became Muslims. So of course, these people that were in Abyssinia, they were in foreign land, and for an Arab to be away from his family is something unspoken of before the past 100 years when we were occupied by our enemies. So they wanted to go back to Mecca, and they went back to Mecca, but then as soon as they got back, they found out that the rumors were not true, and torture started becoming more severe again. And then people emigrated a second time to Ethiopia, and this time there were about, how many people? This time there were about 80. Okay, we'll get to it. So the second emigration to Ethiopia. There were about, I think, 80 some odd men and 13 or 14 women. And they went back to Najashi, and we'll continue, inshallah, tomorrow. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask. Jazakumullah.